Alright, I want to run through the most missed questions from the algebra review problems. These are definitely important ones to have down as you move into Algebra 2 next year. So we're going to start with this first one. Alright, so the first thing we're going to need to do is distribute on the left. So that 7 times the quantity 2e minus 1 is going to become 14e minus 7, sending that 7 in to each piece. Then we have a minus 3 equals 6 plus 6e. Alright, I'm going to clean up a little bit, so that negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. So I have 14e minus 10 equals 6 plus 6e. I'm going to subtract the 6e from each side. Alright, that takes me to an 8e minus 10 equals 6. Alright, now I've got two steps left to solve, so I'm going to add 10 to both sides. 8e equals 16. Divide each side by the 8, and I get e equals 2. Alright, so for that first one, the answer is e equals 2. And again, the key is distribute, get the variables on the same side, and then solve the result. Alright, so if I move to the second one, it's another equation, so we're going to solve it in a very similar way. We're going to distribute this 2 in to both of those terms. Now, the key thing to notice here is that it's really a negative 2. So when I send that in, we've got 3. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18, so minus 18. Negative 2 times 2m is going to be negative 4m, so minus 4m equals m. Alright, so I'm going to clean up a little bit. 3 minus 18 is negative 15. Minus 4m equals m. Add the 4m over. Alright, you'll notice I moved the variables just so I keep it positive. Alright, so we have 5m on that side and a negative 15 over here. We're going to divide both sides by 5, and we'll have m equals negative 3. Alright, so again, the same idea. Simplify, combine like terms, then get variables to one side, solve the result. Alright, linear equations are pretty predictable because those are always going to be your steps. Basically, distribute and simplify, move the variable to the same side, and then solve whatever's left. And once you get the variable on the same side, if everything's simplified, you're always going to be down to a 1 or 2 step equation to solve. Alright, now moving into the inequality work, that was kind of our next section here. This was the most missed inequality. Alright, so I've got 54x plus 64 is greater than or equal to 49x plus 59. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is get the variable to the same side. Alright, so I'm going to subtract 49x from both sides. That takes me to a 5x plus 64 greater than or equal to 59. Alright, I'm going to subtract the 64 from both sides. That's a 5x is greater than or equal to negative 5. Divide both sides by positive 5, so there's no need to flip the inequality sign. And I'm at x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Alright, so if I'm writing my answer here, I would just write it as this. You're probably going to have to use the menu that pops up for the greater than or equal to. Occasionally the format that they'll ask you to do is like a greater than sign, followed by an equal sign, negative 1 on the computer, but I believe a pop-up will show up on this one on Khan Academy, so x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Alright, in an Algebra 2 class, you'd also have to graph this, so we'd have 0, negative 1 is a closed circle, and it's greater than, so we'd have an arrow going out to the right. Alright, and you might also remember from your Algebra 1 days that we could write this negative 1 comma infinity as an interval. Alright, so a lot of ways that we can write this answer. And we can also graph it. Alright, if I move on to the next one of the common mistakes, it's this one. We've got 4x plus 4 less than or equal to 9x plus 8. Alright, now this one I'm going to actually get a negative variable in front just because I want to deal with that. And there is something that comes up. So let's say that we chose to subtract 9x from both sides. Alright, if we did that, we get negative 5x plus 4 equals, is less than or equal to 8. Alright, then I'm going to subtract the 4 from both sides. So I have negative 5x is less than or equal to positive 4. Alright, now at this point I would divide both sides by the negative 5. Now what we have to remember is in an inequality, if we divide both sides by a negative, we have to flip the inequality sign. So that less than or equal to would become a greater than or equal to, and then we'd have negative 4/5 over here. Now I want to show you this going the other direction with the variable just because I think that's going to kind of help convince you if you're not totally convinced about the switching the sign. If I subtract 4x off both sides, all right, that takes me to a 4 is less than or equal to 5x plus 8. If I subtract 8, I'm at negative 4 is less than or equal to 5x. And then I have negative 4/5 is less than or equal to x when I divide both sides by 5. Now in that situation, I'm dividing by a positive, so the sign stays the same. All right, in this one, x is bigger than negative 4/5. In this one, x is bigger than negative 4/5. It's just it's written in the reverse order that we're used to seeing. All right, so on either one of these, we're really saying x is greater than or equal to negative 4/5. Now, if I was to graph that, I'd plot a 0, negative 4/5, it's an or equal to, so arrow going out to the right with a solid circle. All right, so those are two of the commonly missed ones. And then the last of the commonly missed ones is this: solve for t, reduce any fraction to the lowest term, don't round your answer, and don't use mixed numbers. All right, so we have 12t minus 2 is strictly less than negative 5t plus 36. All right, so I'm going to add the 5t over. So I'm at 17t minus 2 is less than 36. All right, I'll add 2 to both sides. So 17t is less than 38. Divide both sides by 17, and I have t is less than 38 over 17. Now, looking at this one in terms of options, there's really not much I can reduce. 38 is divisible by 2 and 19. All right, neither of those numbers go into 17, so we can't reduce this anymore. So this would be our final answer. Now, you're going to have to be careful and make sure you use the drop-down menu to get the fraction when you try and enter this in Khan Academy, because it did specifically ask you for a reduced fraction. All right, so t is less than 38/17. All right, so I hope that answered your questions. Those are linear reviews. Next week, we're going to go into some quadratic review problems. So you'll see factoring, and then as we push into the next week, you'll see solving. All right, I hope that answered your questions. Have a great day.